Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for extending the invitation to me and for allowing me to attend this year's ASEAN-Hong Kong Business Conference, which coincides with the 50th anniversary of our regional organization known as ASEAN. This is also the year when the Philippines is hosting and chairing the ASEAN meetings this 2017. Special thanks to the Consul General of the Philippines, Consul General Bernardita Catalia, who have co-organized the conference, as well as the 10 ASEAN Consul Generals in Hong Kong SAR for their support of the event. Given current global and regional developments, today's economic gravity has shifted in the region, making it imperative for ASEAN to remain both relevant and resilient. As we mentioned also in yesterday's forum, ASEAN really and the RCEP, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, is the name of the game, is the game, the only game in town, as they say. Given what's happening to the TPP, the withdrawal of US, given also the Brexit happening in EU. As the chair of this year's ASEAN Regional Meet, the Philippines is committed to ensure that the regional organization can adapt to the changing geopolitical landscape and focus on making the region's economies more integrated, competitive, and dynamic. We are confident that through this conference, we will gain greater insight on the challenges that will not only affect ASEAN's goal for greater economic integration, but also its future engagement with its trade partners. At this juncture, we also underline the importance of the pending ASEAN-Hong Kong Free Trade Agreement. There is a great opportunity to expand economic cooperation between ASEAN and Hong Kong. Hong Kong is ASEAN's 7th largest trading partner, while ASEAN is Hong Kong's 2nd largest trading partner after China. Since China launched its economic reform and open door policies in 1978, Hong Kong has become the premier gateway into and out of mainland China for international trade and investment across Asia and the world, including ASEAN. Today, there are more than 500 ASEAN companies in Hong Kong, including regional headquarters, regional offices, and local offices. They account for 6.6% of the total number of foreign companies in Hong Kong. Factoring these numbers, ASEAN's economic engagements with Hong Kong are of significant importance in terms of trade and investment. With ASEAN becoming a crucial link in the international community because of the dynamism and huge potential it offers to the world, economies in ASEAN bear testament to the advantages brought about by international trade. ASEAN member states continue to attain unprecedented growth by becoming integrated into a free and open multilateral trading system. Further economic interdependence in the region has increased cooperation initiatives, resulting to more trade opportunities in ASEAN. Just a bit of statistics within ASEAN. Actually, there's an intra-ASEAN trade, and that's about 24% of the total trade. And you see that really increasing further as we are just seeing and the benefits of the ASEAN Economic Community, which started actually just last December of 2015. In this regard, ASEAN is continuing to make steady progress towards integrating the region into the global economy through its free trade agreements with its 6 dialogue partners, the FTAs with China, Japan, Korea, India, Australia, and New Zealand, have been strengthening ASEAN's position as an open and inclusive economic region. So this is the 6 countries, the dialogue partners or the FTA partners of ASEAN, that when we combine and enter into an FTA between ASEAN, the 10 countries, and the 6 countries that I mentioned, this is what we call now the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. And from an ASEAN population or market of 620 million, in effect you will have a market and population of 3.2 billion. So that accounts for about 1/2 of the world's population already, because you have China and India there, no? And they account for about 1/3 of the world's economy. Given this, we are hopeful for greater business opportunities with the ASEAN-Hong Kong Free Trade Agreement and the ASEAN-Hong Kong Investment Agreement, set to be signed in November 2017 in Manila at the sidelines of the 31st ASEAN Summit. The ASEAN-Hong Kong FTA covers the following elements. Some were mentioned by Consul General: the trade in goods and related issues such as tariffs, rules of origin, non-tariff measures, customs procedures, trade facilitation, trade remedies, technical barriers to trade, sanitary and phytosanitary measures. So those are related to the trade in goods. There is also trade in services, investment, intellectual property rights, dispute settlement, horizontal and institutional issues, economic and technical cooperation, and other areas of interest to be mutually agreed upon. ASEAN first agreed to pursue an FTA with Hong Kong at the 19th ASEAN Economic Ministers Retreat held on 8th of March 2013 in Hanoi, Vietnam, with negotiations on the FTA commencing in July of 2014. Due to Hong Kong's unique economic status, it was agreed on that a standalone investment agreement would be negotiated in parallel with the FTA. Likewise, the FTA negotiations with Hong Kong recognize the need for special and differential treatment to developing ASEAN member states, plus additional flexibility to the least developed members of ASEAN, consistent with the existing ASEAN +1 FTA as applicable. Now, talking about the benefits of the ASEAN-Hong Kong FTA, with the pending FTA with Hong Kong, what can ASEAN businessmen expect in the future dealings with Hong Kong? From the perspective of the Philippines, the Filipino business community can expect broader trade engagements with their Hong Kong counterparts. Consider this: in 2016, Hong Kong was the Philippines' 5th largest trading partner. They account for a third, or they're number 3. They're the 3rd top export market and 10th import supplier, with total bilateral trade of $9.1 billion in 2016. In terms of investments, Hong Kong ranked as the 15th largest source of investments. Exports to Hong Kong expanded by an average of 3% over the years. Under the ASEAN-Hong Kong FTA, also, Hong Kong is committed to buying all its tariffs at 0% under the FTA, which is a plus factor for ASEAN countries. Please note that many of the MFNs, or the most favored nation, or the regular tariff of ASEAN, is actually already at 0 in Hong Kong. But it is not bound at 0. So what it says that it is now bound at 0, all of it, no? On trade in goods, Hong Kong's interests lie in access to an ever-growing and increasingly prosperous ASEAN middle class with an increasing appetite for consumption goods. With Hong Kong's small population base translating into a small market, the general perception is that there is nothing much to be gained in having an FTA with Hong Kong. However, as many of us know, this overlooks the fact that the key point in Hong Kong's native population, while maybe small, but the island is host to about 60 million tourists a year, of which 40 million are from the mainland. This fits with the initial assessment of our country's Export Marketing Bureau of local products that we can promote to Hong Kong, which includes jewelry, design-driven products like luxury furniture, home furnishings, decors, fashion and accessories, travel goods, leather products, sportswear, design-oriented, and even agriculture produce. And more importantly, the packaged food and packaged agriculture products. As such, Hong Kong can serve as a viable target market for Philippine consumer goods and brands, with Hong Kong serving as a gateway to China market, by providing other economies with a venue for marketing their goods to mainland China consumers. Meanwhile, Hong Kong remains to be a player in the global economic community, not just in terms of trade in goods, but also in investments and services. An increase in cross-border investments is also expected with the inclusion of Hong Kong into the trading bloc, since ASEAN nations will attract more direct investments from Hong Kong's companies that will help boost the growth of ASEAN industries. With regard to services, the architecture of the ASEAN-Hong Kong trade in services negotiations follows that of the General Agreement of Tariffs in Services, or Trade in Services, Positive Lease Approach. This means that they identify specific services that will be included and that will be allowed in other countries. Market access negotiations are done bilaterally using the request and offer approach. Given these, Hong Kong offers are improved GATS commitments. Based on the draft final schedule of trade in services, commitments submitted by Hong Kong, the Philippines will gain market access to an additional 37 subsectors from the 52 subsectors offered by Hong Kong in GATS. Included in the 37 subsectors are subsectors of Philippine interests like education services, computer and related services, professional services, and other business services. In conclusion, despite recent regional and global developments that have impacted on trade and investment, ASEAN remains a bright spot as one of the most vital regional groupings today. Being the 7th largest economy in the world with a population of 620 million people, ASEAN has become a pivotal marketplace with a relatively young, growing labor force and an emerging middle class. ASEAN should serve as an example on how regional integration can become possible despite political and economic challenges, as well as the diversity in size, political background, and culture of the region. Yes, there is unity in diversity. It is only through greater trade engagements via FTAs between ASEAN and trade partners like Hong Kong can we ensure that we can attain our goal for inclusive, innovation-led growth and shared prosperity for everyone. But before I end, allow me to make a quick pitch also about the Philippines. I will be remiss if I don't mention anything about the Philippines aside from a little that I mentioned earlier on exports. But the Philippines is definitely also on a breakout. I would say that it's one of the fastest growing economies in the world, even in this part of the world, this region. GDP growth has been hovering around 6.4 and 6.8% last year and the first quarter of this year. And what's important is that these are led now by industry and manufacturing. Now hovering around 7 to 8% when it used to be at the 2% in the past years. Investments have been growing. Last year, FDIs, foreign direct investments, grew by 41%. This year, we are sustaining a double-digit growth of 17%. The good thing here is that the feedback from the business sector, the business confidence level has risen to 43%, what used to be less than 30% in the past period. Consumer confidence also has gone up to 9%. The last number, 9% was January, February. Up to March is 13.3% already. It has gone up. It used to be at the negative territory because it's positive minus negative. So it used to be at the negative territory. So that means the consumer market is really, increasing and increasing. And that's because we have a demographic sweet spot. 23 years old is the average age. More employed because the previous unemployment rate of 6.6% is now 5.5%. And so you see you have a young population that's more employed with income, regular income, and you can imagine an enlarging consumer base. And that will run for so many years because, again, we're coming from a low young base population. Consumer demand has been still very strong, but the good thing also as part of the GDP growth I mentioned, it is now investment-led. The faster growth rate of 26% is happening in the investment side, not only on consumption growth. No? So that's another good thing happening for the Philippines. So I guess this is a good time to look into the Philippines, to invest. Not to mention that locating in the Philippines will allow you market to the ASEAN 620 million population, plus access also to the RCEP countries I mentioned, 3.2 billion. Plus being in the Philippines, you have GSP privileges in the US, that means zero duty for about 6,000 products, and GSP plus privileges in EU, that's also 0% duty to several thousands of products. So we invite you also to look into the Philippines, to ride on the economic growth, and I guess have your company grow with us. And as our President would always assure, President Duterte is very much into ensuring peace and order, tightening the security situation, making sure that there is no corruption under his government. And he's a guarantee to all of the business people, if there is corruption, we go see him. And he will be the one to kick the officer out of his room. Okay, so that's the personal guarantee of our President. So once again, thank you very much for your attention. Maraming salamat po. Mabuhay!